Yes, perfect.
Okay, so let's start. To start with, just to present my outline, I will first take a few minutes to expose our digital landscape at the BnF, thanks to an attempt of genealogy of what we have done so far. And then we will discuss our project, at least the ones with a computer vision flavor. And as a conclusion, I will try to give you some feedback on how we manage a project at the BnF, and a couple of, I would say, practice-based remarks. So with this timeline, I'm trying to summarize the genealogy of the BnF digital project over the last 10 years. This project concerns 4 domains with a somewhat arbitrary division between digitization and OCR, content-based image retrieval, NLP, and last of all, data analysis. So it's a very complicated timeline. I promise I'm not going to detail all this project, but I'd like to point out a few insights from this timeline. First, we can see that the entire digital research landscape we are dealing with today has its roots in the OCR and document analysis activity, which was associated with our early digitization programs. As an example, some of the projects I will expose later have reused datasets and tools from previous European projects funded. Another, I think, quite interesting insight is more and more we can find local, or I would say small, national project and national funded project which are involving IA, the blue one and the purple ones on the charts. It's quite visible on this chart. And previously, these were mainly large, as I said, large European funded projects, the red ones. And another quite interesting insight start from around 2015. We can see that images and iconographic collection are beginning to be an area of interest for content-based image retrieval at the bottom of the slide. And finally, I would say this research activity has paved the way for the opening of new services to users, such as API.BnF or our BnF data lab. And I would say a few words about our data lab to be opening this October later. But again, it's still difficult to move from research project to new digital services based on IA. I can mention Retro News, our heritage newspaper portal, which make use of NLP, and Gallica Image, a new service which is planned to open next year. When it comes to deep learning, again, we can find evidence of a major shift around 2015 with many projects with a deep learning flavor. And today, most of our digital projects have a deep learning component. And finally, maybe the more interesting trend we can deduce here from this timeline is that the increase in IA projects led by non-technical departments, and particularly our collections department. So I'm now going to present a few projects related to print and manuscript, and then we will focus on image. So I repeat what was said this morning, that newspaper are in high demand by digital historians, but we are still facing scientific barriers, as Maria just said, particularly on, I would say, on article separation. This European project attempt to push the boundaries of OCR on article separation, on semantic enrichment. what does it imply together, as we again discussed this today, together computer science, digital humanities, and an institution, cultural institution, and IA project? Our feedback is care must be taken to reconcile the partner's agenda through all the project. But still, we have achieved good results. This other project is emblematic of what is possible to do right now on written text recognition using integrated platform like Transcribus or eScriptorium. A very small team with a light computer science support carry out the transcription of thousands of reading notes from Michel Foucault, considered very difficult to read for human reader. Again, a common difficulty for institutions is how we can leverage transcripts or enrichment made by researchers. Several challenges can be found along the way. It can be related to our inadequate pipelines, work overflow for the library, incomplete transcription from the project, and so on. For French speaker, I recommend this comics that was created during the final conference of the project, which discuss all the difficulties and benefits of this kind of digital project. IA is also very effective for in extracting the logical structure of document, of unstructured text documents. And so far we have tested it on dictionaries, encyclopedia, and now we're trying to work on sales catalogs. For optical music recognition, so again, state-of-the-art tools cannot be used at the production level, I would say, and human-in-the-loop approaches must be explored. This project aims at mixing deep learning to sum up and crowdsourcing. And finally, this last project on historical maps, led by the PFL in Lausanne, and we got excellent results in segmentation, georeferencing, and geocoding of Paris maps. And you can test the output using the link provided. So let's now move to our image-related project. First remark, when you want to index illustration, you must first identify them. And for encyclopedic collection, it can be quite a challenge. We have tested some research tools so far and get some very promising results. And we have contact with Anne and Tan on this segmentation issue. Again, so far we relied on OCR for print segmentation, and our OCR is now combined with a deep learning model for noise filtering. So a few words about GallicaPix, which is one of our first image indexing experiments. It's an hybrid retrieval engine, which leverage our OCR, bibliographic metadata, and metadata produced by IA pipeline and IA out-of-the-box services. It's now a BnF product, and it's regularly enriched with new collection. For dissemination, we are strongly using the TripleF protocol, in particular for GallicaPix. We are making use of TripleF for convey all the GallicaPix data as TripleF collection or as TripleF annotation, and that can be reused by anyone outside our Gallica, I would say, ecosystem. This project has been very instructive in acculturating a library to IA from our IT colleagues to the curators. We used it as just exposed as a proof of concept, as a pilot project for our roadmap, and as a basis for a production project, which is still in progress. But based on our feedback on this production project, I would say implementing AI at large scale is quite a difficult task. This proof of concept only concerned 20th century collection. So we wanted to evaluate the same approach on older collection, and we started this research project conducted by our National Computer Science Institute on ancient illustrated manuscripts. For training, we started from a 400 species taxonomy from the Mandragora base. As you can see, a representation of lions is very diverse, since the Mandragora base covers collection from all time periods and cultures. One of the difficulties for machine learning is the size of the object of interest, and we face rather large difficulty on this particular Mandragora base because it was scanned at the beginning of 2010 or maybe previously. So some of the scan have a very medium or very small definition. Another difficulty we face concerns unbalanced classes. It's very typical and very classic in training, in machine learning. And so we finally decided to group the species, our species, using a phylogenetic approach. We first try a weakly supervised method using a model trained on contemporary pictures, and which turned to be very ineffective as the model learns from the wall pages and not from our area of interest. So we've then applied strong supervision using a campaign of annotation and a model trained on top of the e-naturalist image database. The sliding window method we use, I'm going to skip this one, and finally the classification results showing the gain in performance obtained using the e-naturalist base, and we achieve very good results. So again, a couple of feedback. This project also has been very instructive because we demonstrate the possibility of indexing a very challenging iconographic content, starting from legacy metadata. But and again, it's very classic at the cost of training, which has been quite laborious during this project. Now I turn to another cooperative research project based on top of Snoop, a French image search engine. One of the computer science lab use case is to detect logo or paintings in TV news archives. For INRIA, Snoop is the basis of the PlantNet citizen science app. You may be familiar with. You are able to classify plant species based on your cell phone photo. PlantNet is widely used, and Snoop, I would say Snoop is now mature enough to be evaluated and applied on our heritage content. We ingested 1 million images into Snoop, and one, as we have seen this morning, one of the most obvious use cases for us is identification of reproduction or variants of illustration. Then we have tested a human-in-the-loop approach where the user validate or invalidate image in the result list, and then is able to iterate its query until it gets a good result. You can see the demo interface in action, and don't hesitate to ask me if you want to try it, because you need this demo is public, but you need an account. Again, we get excellent feedback from user, internal user and external user from the DH community, and we are not trying to share and to co-develop Snoop for a heritage institution in France, from libraries to museum and archives. So, as a conclusion, I give you some consideration from our experience, but I'm pretty sure some of which I think will be of interest to other institutions. As an example, I would say that transdisciplinary collaboration is needed, and we all share this insight. But it's very necessary to take into account that the fact that the partners have very legitimately different agendas and priorities. Another feedback from our experience on the Gallica image large-scale project, service provider with expertise on the eye and heritage sector are still rare. They exist, but you have to find them. Real-life implementation, a couple of feedback on implementation. It's also, I would say, it's also a challenge for research, for digital research, but it's clearly also the case for AI projects. To my experience on the library side, we also have to do some serious work on how we can handle this new type of data, their life cycle. By life cycle, I mean the way they are created, the way they are alive, and eventually the moment and the way when they have to die or they are dying. We also need a lot of computing power on this large-scale project. And as I said on our Gallica image ambition, outsourcing a large-scale AI project is also very challenging and very demanding in terms of project management and budget. And we had a tendency to underestimate the cost within this project. And nevertheless, I think we all share the same conclusion. This project we are talking about today, this cross-disciplinary and exploratory project, help institutions to bring the best of AI and better serve their patrons. And by patrons, I speak with a distinction of researcher, of users, practicing quantitative or qualitative analysis, AI, sales, all this audience. And another feedback and insight, but it's very classic. This AI project have the elegance to put data back at the center of IT projects, which is always nice for archivists and librarians. They help us to develop our roadmap for the next 4 years. So this roadmap, which soon will be made public, and this roadmap will include organizational, technical, and ethical consideration. Finally, I would say that the arrival of AI in GLAM institution and in GLAM digital research at all, to my point of view, it's not a revolution, but it raises particular question and calls for a specific reflection. And that's all. And again, thank you all for your attention and for this invitation.